Hello, welcome to Awkward Conversations. As you know, if you've been watching, Seth did Awkward Conversation by himself last time. And so this time I'm doing one by myself. And we wanted to do this just for a little variation. We're talking about marriage and we're talking about enduring, which I think is funny because I always tell people, the younger that you get married, the longer forever is. So when you're making a commitment of marriage, like forever, when you start at 19, forever is a long time. Not to say that marriage is bad, but it is work and it's a lot of hard work. So I am encouraging you to say, I'm not saying you shouldn't get married till you're older because of that, but I'm just saying when we enter into this thing called marriage, we are talking about something that requires determination, persistence, endurance, not because you don't have great times. And if you're in a healthy relationship, it's beautiful, but because the reality is over years and years and years of change and growth, we are adapting and we are adjusting and we are experiencing whole life changes. And so there is this reality of it takes work. And there's times when it is hard and you have seasons that you go through that are very difficult. And if you're going to enter into marriage covenant, it is meant to be a forever thing. Now, I do want to say this. In the course of what we're talking about today, I want you to understand I am not talking about a marriage that is abusive, a marriage that is harmful. I'm not talking about enduring, persisting, etc. through abuse, okay? I just think it's very important that what I'm about to tell you is in a healthy marriage relationship where there is no abuse happening. Because what we're talking about is staying committed, staying true to your spouse. So Matthew 19, 5 and 6 is where Jesus says, a man shall leave his family, shall cleave to his wife, the two shall become one flesh. And I looked it up. I thought, that word cleave, like we don't use that word. What does that even mean? And the actual Greek, it is, I don't know how to pronounce it, kala. It's from the root kala, which is glue. And so other definitions of glue in that sense were to cling, to join, to unite, to cement, to fasten. And then another word that was listed there was gluten. And I thought that's super interesting because when you make bread, you work that dough until you build up that gluten, and that gluten creates that stick. And so I found that super interesting. So when a man gets married, he is to leave his father and mother, and he is to glue to his wife. And part of the reason I find that interesting is because even when we understand the course of intimacy, sexual intercourse, scientifically, there is all sorts of data that talks about the gluing, the bond that happens between a husband and wife, between any two people who are having intercourse. There is an actual substance that is created that is a glue-like substance, therefore making husband and wife one, making the two people one, which is part of why when you're sexually active outside of marriage, it creates issues for you in your soul. We're not talking about that, so I'll let that sit. But anyway, the idea of marriage is meant to be this cementing, this glue, where you and your spouse are becoming glued, cemented together. And now, interesting to think about, cement can be broken up, right? It's not permanent. Now, when you break it up, it's broken. But it is a very intense way to stick stuff together, to combine things together, right? So the other verse I wanted to talk about is Proverbs 18:22 that says, when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing And Seth and I have talked in other awkward conversations about the wife is actually called the adversarial advocate. And I think that is such a good term because there's so many times that the wife is trying to help and improve and encourage the husband in his walk with God, in his business life, in his becoming more and more whole, in his growth, right, in every area. And then thirdly, the other verse I wanted to mention is Galatians 6:9, which says, "Do not become weary in well-doing, for at the proper time you will reap a harvest, you will reap a reward." And so I find it fascinating, couples who stick together for years and years, when they get into their 60s, 70s, 80s, and you see these older couples, and they just have this sweet love and compassion. I truly think that's the benefit and the reward. And it seems to me when I look at couples, I don't know this fully because I'm not old enough, but it seems to me, you have that honeymoon phase, you have that child rearing and you're working hard phase. And then you get to this place where you're just kind of annoyed with each other, and your kids graduate and they leave home, and then there's just this, you see these couples who are just a little bit antagonistic to one another. He's just rare. And then the woman, but then it seems like as you watch and observe that there's this season of change where if they stick to it, there's this season of change where there's this like beauty and this sweetness and this harmony where, they're sitting there together and they're, just in love again. And so I just find this whole journey of marriage and the process of marriage interesting. And I think when we endure, we reap the reward. We see the reward of that enduring. So I think I wanted to just talk a little bit about that enduring process and those phases that you go through and seasons you go through. And I feel like in our times, we've become so intense on being what we call at peace. It's not a true definition of peace, but we've become so intense in this place of being at peace that we abandon, we block, we put boundaries up, anything that hurts us, anything that we feel like it is unsettling, it disgruntles us, it feels awkward, it feels uncomfortable, it feels anytime we're uncomfortable, well, we just block the person, we just ghost them, we just push them away, we oust them. And I think in this time frame, what we're learning is how to isolate ourselves really well, and I don't think that's a good thing, how to push people away. And I think what I struggle with in this is that we are not helping ourselves learn how to handle hurt, how to handle, wounds, how to handle difficulties. We just like, no, we're not going to let that happen. Instead of going, I live on the earth. I live in a fallen world, understanding that I am going to be affected by other humans. As much as we, you watch people who do block people and put up boundaries, etc. Like, they're some of the most miserable people. And I think it's because they're still being hurt. They're still being hit and hurt and wounded. But they are desperately looking for fulfillment. And then they are not able to, it's almost like by pushing people away, they're isolating themselves, so they hurt themselves more, and then they open the door to let in one person, and then they get injured even worse and more hurt, and their heart gets broken. And I'm like, as humanity, as just purely beings living with one another, we have to understand we are going to get hurt. It doesn't matter how much you try to protect yourself. It doesn't matter how much you want to isolate or insulate, how much you try to make everything okay so that you can be at peace. It doesn't work that way. You live on earth, you live with other human beings. You're going to be hurt. And this is true in marriage. My husband hurts me. He does. I hurt my husband. And so I think just realizing this is part of life and in a sense embracing it, not looking for hurt, not seeking out abusive people, but embracing the fact that because I'm human, because I'm married, I'm going to receive marks. I'm going to be marked up. I'm not going to be perfect. Things are going to happen that are going to hurt me. And so I think understanding that is really vital. Recently, I was at a retreat and I was doing a session, and I just had this thing come to me. It was a story that I felt like God had given me because it came so fast and so easy. And it was just so good. And this has to do a little bit with being marked, being hurt. And so I want to read this, and I'm going to try not to just look at my phone, but I am going to be looking at my phone. So bear with me, but hear my story. Imagine with me a pure white innocent, untouched. She's beautiful. Everything created to perfection. Not one want, not one mole, not one flaw. Whole, beautiful, innocent. She comes to a new place, a new town, a new house, a new room, and she begins to change, not because she necessarily wants to, but because the place she lives now is vastly different, fallen, unknown. Life happens, she changes. Then, the great kindness, Father himself steps into this new life-happening place, her new but fallen home. He glances her way, and as he does, he takes her in fully. He looks at her. He sees her. He sees her. He sees her. In the seemingly lost innocence place, in the angry, lonely wounds she has experienced, and he sees her through the harsh judgment of the cross, through Jesus. He sees glory, complete, exact, perfect, innocent, still. What she has lost sight of is there, present but unknown. While Father gazes at her, he opens his hand toward her, and with nothing to lose, she responds and she takes his hand, trusting. What she doesn't know is he does this over and over again and again, choosing the fallen innocent, the judged girl, the overwhelmed, tired mom, the I'm too old to matter anymore grandma. He sees them all, opens his hand toward them, and brings them together. Not to make them alike, but he brings them still, whatever state they may be in, sad, tired, desperate, angry, judged, and also happy, weird, fun, unique, loved. He's gathering them, picking them one by one as stems and leaves and flowers. He's preparing them, for they are his handiwork, created in Jesus to do beautiful things, things he prepared before in advance for them to do. He takes each innocent and he puts her in the perfect place as she yields to his guiding hand. He makes her rest in green pastures. He leads her beside quiet waters. He's putting her exactly where he wants her to be, for his will and for hers, even if she's unaware. He positions the innocent, the beauty, precisely here. The great kindness has now prepared his garden, this beautiful garden of innocence, all the roses and dahlias, the carnations and daisies, the greenery, the filler, the living and the supposed dead, and he connects them, planting them near one another through experience, through time and place, through home, family, church, and school. And here they are, living, half living, and those feeling half dead, but all together in this one mashed up place, the garden, one beautiful half living, dead, half dead garden, all together, alone, together as one, designed and positioned by the Holy Father. Now here grows the innocent, tied in with all these others. She wonders how she became a part of this, and they wonder about her. She's being squeezed and pushed out of the garden. She doesn't know. Held and spoken over, pressed and getting drenched, getting hot, then cold, soaked, then held, loved, and hot again. Dang, this is hot, uncomfortable, hard. She's being pressed and she wants out. Yet she is here and will stay. She will stay. Why? Because she's changing and she knows it. She's shifting and cross-pollinating. She's taking on the smell of the others in the garden. Simultaneously, she's giving of herself to them, pushing back. She is pressing into them, pushing on their roots, intertwining with their stems and leaves, passing through but around the others and growing still more. And this is uncomfortable, innocent, hard-pressed on every side but not crushed, persecuted but not abandoned, struck down but not destroyed. She carries around in her body the death of Jesus. Thus, the life of Jesus is revealed in her. Death is at work in her, but life is at work in her. She persists. She is becoming more whole in this garden. She's being kept, tended, and cared for, held and loved, along with all the others in the garden, that they may be one, together unique, just like the Father and Son are one, so are they made one. This is the process: struggle, heat, drenching, anger, hurt, sadness, smells, cross-pollination, making marks, togetherness. Oh, sweet, innocent, precious, and lovely, you are becoming one. And this is the difficult and the glorious, not easy, but beautiful. You are chosen. The effects on you, perhaps unknown and still unseen, you are chosen and revealed in the great King's plan. You are displayed in a glorious way, placed in the perfect place, in the perfect light, to enhance the grace you've walked into, to not only expose the beauty and grace over you and upon you, but which now supplies you with the purpose you are made for. Oh, the plans and purpose the great King has made you for. You speak with him as with a friend. He responds, he hears you. You seek him to know life and grace and hope, and you find him. Still alongside the others, you are uniquely together, alone, together. I am found by you, he whispers. Here with you, he continues. You are mine, I am yours, and you and the others together, alone, together, you are becoming one, each affecting, impacting the other, connected, and yet so beautifully, uniquely you. You together are a royal priesthood, chosen, mine, taken from darkness, settling light to yell out the praises of your Father, Creator, the great kindness. So what I felt like with this is just this realization that because we are in the world, even though we're not of the world, we are in the world. And because of that, and because of our humanity, we are affecting each other. And sometimes we get in a hurry and we say harsh things. We push past somebody. We do things that we would, in our right mind, never intend to do and never want to hurt somebody else. But the reality is, we're in this garden. We're being drenched. We're smelling other smells. We're being pushed together, crushed, but not damaged, right? Forsaken, but not in despair. We experience hurt because we are human. And in a marriage, you are going to experience hurt. Bottom line, It doesn't matter how perfect, how great your spouse is. Over time, you're going to experience hurt. You're going to realize that I'm being marked and influenced. I'm different today because of my spouse, both in good ways and in negative ways. He's different because of me in good ways and in negative ways. And the bottom line is, I don't remember exactly the verse, but when we are hurt, if we will but trust. And again, I'm not talking about abuse. I'm not saying stick in with an abusive situation. But when we are hurt, if we can trust the Father and we can run to him with those hurts and he can heal and soften, and of course, we're going to be marked. But the reality is, Father is forming us and creating us and making something beautiful, even with the marks, even with the wounds, even with the scars. He's creating a masterpiece in each single one of us. And so we are together alone in the sense that God is working and building and forming us together, alone, together. I get to be who I am, my own unique person, and I get to experience the wholeness of becoming in spite of hurt, in spite of damage. So I just want to encourage you, marriage is worth the enduring. Relationships, friendships, church life, don't stop going because you got hurt. Don't quit your marriage because you got hurt. Don't isolate yourself from your friends, block your friends because you got hurt. It's part of it. We're becoming. He is making us. We can trust him. And I know hurt hurts, but you can be healed through that. You can grieve that hurt and you can be healed and let that become part of your story and work beyond that and become whole and become beautiful in spite of that. So stick with it. Do not grow weary in well-doing, for at the proper time, you'll receive the harvest. You are becoming. So embrace that. Trust the Father as he's working in you. Hold his hand. Let him work with you. Okay? Blessings to you. I hope this is helpful. I hope it's encouraging. I know this is not an easy thing, but I truly believe this is the reality. You are becoming. So let it be. Trust your Father. Walk it out. You got this. Hi there. I want to encourage you to like, subscribe, and ring the bell on our YouTube channel because it helps get the word out. It helps others get to hear the message, and we are wanting to make an impact in others. So you can help us, and we invite you to do so. Thank you very much.